Lenten journey, which is all about changing ourselves, making sure we're praying more, making sure we're taking in the good things. Last week, I talked about that all of that change, all these things we're trying to do, should be starting to bear some fruits. And on this last week of Lent, the fruit we all need to really ask ourselves, is it really bearing the fruit of forgiveness? You know, last week we heard the powerful gospel of the prodigal son. This week we hear the powerful gospel of the woman caught in adultery. Both powerful stories about the radical forgiveness of God. And you know, sometimes, if not all the time, we all find it hard to forgive. It's hard to forgive that person who has really hurt us. Sometimes it's hard to forgive that person who's standing in front of me in the checkout line with 15 items and the 10 item or less line. You know, the little things in life sometimes get under my skin, let alone the big things. Forgiveness is not easy. And if you look throughout the Gospels, the thing Jesus talks about the most is the necessity to forgive. Each time we pray the Our Father, we say, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lent is about bearing that fruit more than anything else, the ability to forgive. Because as Jesus reminds us in the Gospel, the measure with which you measure will be given back to you. We need God's mercy because we are sinners, but I have to make sure I'm willing to give that mercy just as much as I want it for myself. And that's a challenge and a struggle for all of us. But as we undertake this season of change, of conversion, that should be a fruit we're starting to bear. And if not, the good news is Lent's not over yet. Pray hard for that ability to let go of that past grudge, that past hurt, that person that we cannot even look at. Because until we're willing to let go of some of that anger, that animosity, that frustration, it's taking up the room in our hearts that God's love and mercy really needs to be occupying. I once read a spiritual master whose name unfortunately escapes me, but he used the image that our heart is like a flower pot. Just like a flower pot, I can only put so much dirt in it, so my heart can only have so many things in it. And if my heart is filled with anger, vengeance, even hatred, then guess what? There's no room for God. Lent is about scooping out some of that dirt, if not all that dirt, to make more room for God's love and mercy in our lives. And confronting the reasons why we're having a hard time letting go. Maybe we need healing. Maybe we need to ask God for the grace of forgiveness. Maybe we need to swallow our pride and realize we're no better than that person ourselves. There's a lot of reasons that we find it hard to forgive. But regardless of what the reason is, Lent is the time to confront those head on. And you know, the story of the prodigal son gives us a lot to think about. Because many times we relate to the younger son, the one who wanders off, messes up, but the father welcomes back with open arms. And sometimes we are the younger son. We've all done that. We also need to relate to the older son, the one who's resentful and angry that the father could be so open and generous to his brother who had messed up so badly. Why does it bother us if God is so merciful and forgiving to others when that's what we expect for ourselves? The older son needed to struggle with that, and we can only hope and pray that eventually he got beyond that. We need to struggle with that during the season of Lent as well. It's easy to identify with the younger son who's welcomed back with open arms. We also need to challenge ourselves to realize we've also been the older son who resents that a party is being thrown because another sinner has been welcomed back into God's kingdom. God welcomes all of us back because we're all sinners. Lent is about changing our own hearts so that we can welcome back our brothers and sisters as well. Because until we open our hearts up to that power of forgiveness and that love and that mercy that our Father has for all of us, really is nowhere to go within our hearts. I think a challenging thing for all of us to think and pray about during these last days of Lent.